fingers was wrong. The grain was raised, splintered slightly, lifted away from the surface. Not pressed down. Pulled. The handprint hadn't been left by something resting its weight on the deck. It had been left by something dragging itself across the deck, fingers digging in for purchase, the wood resisting and giving way in small fibers. I scrubbed the print with a deck brush before anyone else came back to that side of the boat. I don't know why I did that. We kept fishing. The next day, the catch was thin. We dragged the same bottom and pulled up almost nothing. Hal said we had spooked the fish. He moved us 30 miles east. That night, around 1 a.m., I came up from the bunk to use the head and Reuben was sitting at the galley table. Reuben does not work the late watch. Reuben should have been asleep. Reuben works the morning watch with me. We both come up at 4 a.m. He was sitting at the galley table with his back to me. He was not eating anything. He was not on his phone. The galley was dark except for the small light over the stove. I said his name. He turned around. It was Reuben. His face. His shape. But he was looking at me like he didn't know who I was, and his eyes weren't focusing on mine. They were focusing somewhere about 6 inches behind my head. I said, "What are you doing up?" His mouth moved. The shape of his mouth made the words. "I'm hungry." The sound came a half-second later. The voice was Reuben's voice, but it arrived after his lips had already finished the sentence and gone still. As if the words had to travel from somewhere else to reach me. There was nothing in front of him. No food. No plate. No cup. I stood there for a few seconds. He turned back around and faced the dark wall again. I went to the head. When I came back through the galley, he was gone. The chair he had been sitting in was still pulled out from the table, not pushed back in. I put my hand on the seat. The wood was warm. Body warm. I went down to the bunk room. Reuben was in his bunk, asleep, snoring the way he always snores. I checked. I shook his shoulder. He woke up enough to swear at me and then went back to sleep. I stood in the bunk room and counted. Hal in the captain's cabin. Donnie in his bunk. Pete in his bunk. Manny in his bunk. Reuben in his bunk. Me, standing. 6. I went back up through the galley. The chair was still pulled out. I put my hand on it again. Still warm. I went to bed. I came up at 4 a.m. for my watch. I walked through the galley on the way to the deck. The chair was still pulled out. I put my hand on it. Still warm. Same temperature it had been at 1 a.m. Body warm. The chair had been warm for 3 hours, and the wood was old, and the galley was cold, and nothing should have stayed warm that long. Whatever had been sitting in that chair was warming it from inside the wood. I worked my watch. I came back through the galley around 6 a.m. The chair was still pulled out. The wood was cool now. Whatever had been sitting there was finished. The next day Reuben did not remember being in the galley. I asked him. He said he had slept through the night. I asked Manny if he had heard me come up.